Hello, I'm Liliane Grace, author of a number of empowering novels for the conscious family. Recently published this one, Power of the Light, about a boy whose father has cancer and what they do about it. And in the process of promoting my book, I'm interviewing a number of people who have created some profound healings in their own lives and in their own health. So today I have with me Jasna Kosovac.
Hello.
And I would like to invite you, Jasna. You've got quite an inspiring story about your health transformation. I'd like to invite you to share what's happened for you. What were you diagnosed with and how did you initially respond to that?
Thank you, Liliane. Thanks for having me. Well, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. I think it was about 10 years ago where I got the diagnosis, but prior to that, I had terrible back pains. I had eye inflammations, which could only be treated with cortisol drops, and nobody actually could tell me why is this happening. One doctor said to me, I was in my mid-30s at that time, he said to me, "Oh, you are young, that's why it's happening. That happens to lots of young people," and I said, "Oh, thank you very much, I feel honored that you still think that I'm young." But it just kept coming back, and I went overseas for an extended holiday, and I got such a terrible inflammation that it was so painful. It was so painful and I lost vision in my right eye. I completely lost vision in my right eye. And then I had to go to this private eye clinic that was in Belgrade in Serbia. And there was this young doctor, and she asked me, "How often do you get this?" And I said, "Very often." And then she said, you should get tested for spondylitis, which is an autoimmune disease which affects the spine. She said, because this is not something that should be happening that often, and you can't just keep getting cortisol. I actually at that time had to have an injection in my eye. It was really terrible. I returned back to Australia. I did this test. There is a genetic test that you can do to find out if you're prone to have this kind of disease. And it came back positive, obviously. And, to cut a long story short, the conventional path was something that just didn't appeal to me, because the side effects of the medication that the specialist wanted to give me was something that I was not willing to risk. And I'm not going to get into detail what kind of side effects this is. I mean, everybody could basically look it up. And I decided to look into alternatives, and I was very lucky to meet a very good naturopath in Melbourne and homeopath. I went to see her, and my journey to healing started with her. And she taught me to look at certain foods that might be actually causing more of the inflammation that's happening in my body. And I thought we would, we are a healthy eating family. We, always cooked food, we had salads, soup. So we were not a takeaway sort of family, but, we still would eat meat and all sorts of things. Sugar, cake, the beautiful cake or some other sweets. So it was the normal way of eating, like most people think it's the normal way of eating. And this is how I came into nutrition. So what I did, I went raw for 6 months.
Wow.
And I reversed my symptoms completely. So the pain in my back, which was generally constantly between an 8 and a 9, went down to 2, 3.
Wow.
I haven't had an eye inflammation since 2010. So that's 10 years now. So this is when 2 years prior to that, I no, actually, this is when I started that year. I started my nutritional transformation. I think you can call it that way. Well, I was just amazed with the results, and then I just started studying nutrition, finished nutrition studies, and I became a nutritionist because I wanted to help people to really discover the power of healthy food.
Mm. Wow.
And after that, everything. Once you start this journey, then everything else starts falling into place. Your mindset, everything else.
That's an amazing, powerful, inspiring, wonderful story. I hope people who were watching this interview will share this with their friends and family, and especially anyone with an immune disorder.
Yes, absolutely.
So can you give us an example of the kind of day, a regime for you food-wise, breakfast, lunch, dinner? What do you eat now? You said 6 months on raw. How much raw do you do now? What's your general... In fact, maybe, sorry, Jasna, can you do both? Can you give us an idea of what you would eat in a day when you were just purely doing raw, and what you're doing now as a bit of an example?
Well, when I was doing purely raw, I would just eat salads, smoothies. I would juice lots of, vegetable juices, specifically vegetable juices. I would actually, once you start looking into things, you actually start becoming creative.
Yeah.
Because it's not just when people hear, oh, just raw or just plant-based, it's just I'm eating salad every day. No, I actually started looking into how can I make a raw soup, and you actually can make a raw soup. You just need to warm it up, and then you have it warm. You don't boil it, so that you don't lose the minerals and vitamins in it. So it was a challenge. It was hard. Because I was the only one in my family at that time who was eating that way. And I was never a passionate eater. I actually discovered that later. Once I stopped eating meat, I discovered that I actually never liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I never really enjoyed it. I just ate it because it was like a cultural paradigm that that we've been just brought up, that this is what you have to eat, and I find this every day with my clients. They have been brought up in a cultural background, or in a family tradition where this stuff needs to be eaten because we've been eating this for generations and generations, which is actually not true, but that's another story. So, well, today I don't eat any animal products whatsoever. So I got rid of meat first, and then after I finished my raw diet, I just continued being a vegetarian. But then I also discovered that dairy was actually not really good for me. And through my nutritional studies, I found out that dairy is really not good for you. So I have been, I think, completely plant-based, 100% plant-based for about 7 years now, I would say. And I eat lots of healthy, yummy dishes.
Yeah, well, your backdrop there is it's yummy just looking at it. Looks fantastic. That
yes,
rustic,
yeah, this is
food.
for me. I just wanted to show people, this is green is actually beautiful.
Oh, it is very beautiful, and that makes me hungry.
Yes.
I love it. What an amazing story. Okay, so so you were lots of salads, lots of smoothies, lots of juices when you were doing your 6-month intensive, and even some raw soups, things like that, getting creative. Mm-hmm. And now you're on a diet that's mostly raw, but all plant food, or What's an
Well,
example of a day?
I love to create dishes. I'm actually at the moment in the finishing phases of my cookbook, which is hopefully going to
Ah,
come out soon. I love creating dishes, and well, I do cook them because I have done my nutritional studies, and I'm actually specialized now in plant-based diets, and I have done lots of professional development in all-free plant-based cooking,
mm-hmm.
and this is
Right.
basically oil-free, salt-free, like reduced sodium um, uh, plant-based cooking. And I just create dishes. I try to make them interesting. Creating
Mm.
a vegan
Yeah.
lasagna with whole meal vegan lasagna, and then with lots of vegetables and things like that.
All
And
right. I'm ordering your book straight away. I'm going to the cookbook. I'm going to be interested. I would like to actually ask you a question about this oil-free thing, because I've been largely raw vegan and largely, plant-based, whatever, for a few years.
Mhm.
And I love eating like this. I'm not fully in that world for various reasons, but I kind of go back and forwards about the oil thing, because I'm hearing lots of people who are saying oil-free in the plant-based sort of world. But there are still a few who are saying, oh no, you need the oils for your brain, and things like that, and then the coconut oil and the olive oil and the big chunks of it on their thing when they're cooking. So I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
Um, well, oil is present in nuts, for example.
Mm.
Absolutely sufficient oil for us to consume, and sometimes even with those kind of so healthy fats, we have to be careful. If, for example, if people want to lose weight, and if they eat 2 avocados on toast in the morning, that's a lot of fat, especially if you have heart problems. So we have to be very careful. Most of the oil that we buy in the supermarket, in the shops, is completely processed. Even the olive oil is
Mm-hmm.
processed, and there are various studies about this that I can send people if they're interested in finding out. I don't really want to overwhelm people with too much information. There are lots of studies that that are actually showing that oil is not that healthy, and coconut oil as well is really fatty. These are all those things that we have, all those fad diets
Mm.
that come out. I think I always say people need to go and really listen to their bodies. That's a must. People have, I think most people have just stopped listening to their bodies, to their intuitions, to their everything is just quick. Let's just grab this on the go. Let's just have this coffee on the go. Let's just eat dinner and look at the iPad while we do that. And all those things have just accumulated to the way most people are eating today. There is absolutely nothing wrong to having a little bit of olive oil in your salad. I'm not saying that it's dangerous. I'm just saying from a healthy perspective, there is enough oil in nuts, in avocados, and there are lots of other things.
It's exactly like the protein myth, isn't it? The people
absolutely
are just crazy for protein, to think they don't have enough protein. They got to get more and more and more protein. But actually, we don't need to add protein. There's enough in our plant food, isn't there?
Absolutely. There is actually, it's too much protein is actually not good for us.
Inflammatory, yeah.
It's inflammatory, and it's really it's not good for our liver, because our liver has really problems processing too much protein, especially meat like protein from meat. There is lots of protein legumes or vegetables. We really don't need the meat protein, but it is we have so many diets out there, keto diet or paleo diet, and they are all advocating for this high meat,
high protein
diet, and this is really, really dangerous. This is really dangerous. I had clients who were put by dietitians on keto diets and they kept them on those diets for 6-7 months, and they would come and see me totally deprived of any energy, totally deprived. I said, I can't, I've lost the weight, but I can't move out of bed. Well, if you don't eat carbs, and I mean the healthy carbs,
yes,
then you won't have any energy.
Yeah.
And this is what I love about my job, when my clients discover that the carbs are actually not the enemy, the healthy carbs. I always have to emphasize this, not the donut.
Yes.
So, and then, oh my God, I feel so fantastic. I actually lost weight, but I'm actually eating all those healthy carbs. So it is possible. And well, for me, it's just a lifestyle. It's not really a diet. And that's what people have to discover.
Yes, I agree. So tell me a little bit, that there's another couple of elements to your healing journey that I remember you mentioning to me, and one was meditation. So how does that factor in?
I was one of those people who thought I could never meditate. That was just my perception.
Mm-hmm.
My brain is just thinking all the time, and I'm not going to be able to meditate. And then I arrived at one stage at my life where I changed this food thing. So I started eating this healthy food, and then this is so powerful. People need to understand that once you start eating healthy, something happens with your mind. You're feeding your mind the right stuff, and your mind is capable to do so many other things that you actually thought you will never be able to do. And I always wanted to start meditating, and then I found out that you don't actually have to stop thinking when you meditate.
Okay.
That was just for me, okay, so it's actually not just sitting down, and it was a liberating discovery. And many things, I really have to thank my naturopath who helped me through this journey. She introduced me to a meditation for the first time, and then she started asking me about things from my childhood, and where I actually thought this is stuff that I have dealt with, and it's fine and it's good and I'm happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then you discover that's actually not the case, because your subconscious mind has put somebody buried it deep down, and you've actually not dealt with that. You've just thought you did. And then things came up which were very interesting, and which just encouraged me to do a little bit more of digging into this a little bit deeper, and trying to solve that, I think, or maybe saying, to get on top of things. Why is this the case? And this is how I discovered how important it is to forgive.
Mm-hmm.
Forgive your parents for all the things that you think that they did wrong, and they just try to do their best. as much as they could. And, you know, as a parent myself, I know I'm trying, or, you know, my sons are adults now, but, you know, you are always trying to be the best parent as you can. Not everyone is born to be a parent. Some people are parents. They're not, it's not probably their favorite role in life, but that's how it is in life. The most important thing for me was this discovery to love your parents no matter what. They are your parents. Forgive them. Even if you have a bad relationship with your parents, you don't, the forgiveness part is absolutely the most important part. I have a great relationship with my mother. We didn't have a great relationship. We didn't have a great relationship all of the time. There were some really, really tough times where my perception was just different at that time. And I think my ego was just trying to tell me that I'm right and she's wrong. And that's just not the case. There is no right or wrong. She is my mother.
Just different perspectives.
Absolutely.
Based on different experiences.
And it came to the point where I called her and I said to her, I love you. I love you so much, and I know that you love me, and I know that you know, we had tough times and everything, and we have a great relationship now, because that was something that needed to be said, you know. And there are so many people who I see this, they have, you know, they don't talk to the parents or to their siblings or something like that, and then they carry this burden with them, and it's not good for their health.
Yeah, I certainly tried to touch on that in my novel, In Power of the Light, which is about thank you, about a boy whose father has cancer, and the father's cancer, to some extent, there has some roots in, there's some bad diet, and there's stress, and there's a difficult relationship with his father. And so the book also explores the healing journey that he goes on.
Yes, I loved it, and thank you so much for letting me review a copy of your book. I completely love the healthy eating transformation. I don't want to give too much away, because, you know, we want people to buy it and to read it, and yes, you should, please. Yes, but that was a very, very important part of the whole journey, this relationship that you described that he had, and that he needed to let go of. And
yes, an element of forgiveness was needed there, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's just the whole thing. We usually forget that how important holistic health is. You know, to be healthy, you just need to have, you know, healthy mind, healthy body, healthy emotions, and I just think, you know, we just continuously have to work on ourselves to achieve that. I don't mean in the sense, you know, you have to force yourself to do certain things that you don't want to do, but you have to make a decision, you know, especially if you're sick, you have to make a decision to get better. And if you're dealing with a illness, with a terminal illness, you know, that's something where I think everybody should do anything they can to get better. Sometimes it just takes to say, you know, I forgive myself, and I forgive you, to be able to move on the path of healing. That's my opinion anyway.
Yeah. Something that I've been learning is that the plant food has an alkalizing effect on the body.
Yes.
Whereas the proteins and the starches and the grains and all these things have a more acidifying effect on the body. And then emotionally, emotions of love and forgiveness and kindness and patience and all that have an alkalizing effect on the body, and anger and resentment and sadness or whatever have a more acidifying effect on the body. And so our path to health is on the alkali side.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. And that's why I always say, once you start, for example, because, okay, I'm very passionate about nutrition. You know, there are some great life coaches out there who work with people on the mental side of things. But I think, and this is my experience with my clients, not just my own experience. Once you start eating healthy, the other path just opens up, sometimes slowly, sometimes fast. It just depends. You know, my clients call me and tell me I've never felt better. You know, 2 weeks into a plant-based lifestyle, I get calls where I said, I've never felt better in my life. My mind is just so positive, and you know, even the stress level, they actually don't affect me that much anymore, because I just feel better.
So what, all right, let's go back to this more, the detailed thing about the plant food, you know, in terms of what you are doing today. What would you have for breakfast these days?
Well, I usually, you know, I want to make it simple. Overnight oats are my favorite. So I just put them in little jars. If I have to go somewhere, I have, you know, I have to have like a late morning tea or something. I put them in jars, and I put lots of stuff in there. I put hemp seeds, I put chia seeds, whatever I can find. And I top them up with some frozen berries. I put some plant milk in there, usually almond milk or oat milk. Sometimes if I don't have anything, I just put water, works the same. A little bit of cinnamon.
Yep.
And then I put some frozen berries on top. If I do it the night before, I put some frozen berries because they once they thawed, the fluid is just going to go into the muesli, and it's just delicious.
Yes. Okay. All right. So that's a muesli type of breakfast that you've soaked overnight rather than cooking it. Yeah.
Yes. When if I really, very often I would really like to have a savory dish. I like to have some mushrooms on toast, or some avocado toast with some chia seeds on top, and some chili, which I really, really love. I love chili. And or on the weekends, I like to make myself a chickpea omelette.
Oh, really? I haven't heard of that. A chickpea.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's going to be in my cookbook.
Okay. Okay. That sounds interesting. And the chia seeds, when you were saying you put them on top, so have they been soaked or?
No, you don't necessarily have to soak chia seeds, but I usually do. I put them with the muesli.
When they're in the muesli, they're soaked, but not if they're sprinkled on top.
Well, chia seeds, you can use them as egg replacers, like linseed or flaxseed, however you want to call it. And they do get this jelly-like consistency, but they are really a very good omega-3 well, I wanted to say supplement, but it's actually not a supplement, but they are full of omega-3, and like very, very important for in a plant-based diet in general.
Yes. Okay. All right. So that's breakfast. What do you do for lunch?
Depends. I love salads. I absolutely love salads, and I love soup. So these are probably my two favorite dishes. With salads, I I just love to be creative. So I try to have as many colors as I can. So I would suggest to everyone, just be creative. Just put whatever you have in that salad. I usually put, when it's supposed to be like a meal type of thing, I usually put either some brown rice in there, or some beans or some lentils for the protein, and put in some blueberries, some sometimes I even put some raspberries in there, some apples.
Yep. Lovely. All right. And dinner. What's dinner? What's your evening meal?
Evenings, I really try to create something like a meal. I either try to, I try a new recipe, or I just cook a recipe that I liked, and I just try it out. So it depends, honestly. It really depends. Most of the time it's either a vegetable casserole if it's winter.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have a slow cooker, which is really a really good thing to use. And I usually cook all my legumes in the slow cooker, and then I freeze them, and then I just take them out when I need them.
Mm-hmm.
Or I have, for example, some baked sweet potatoes topped up with some beans and some corn and some avocado on top and some spinach. Just being creative.
Yeah.
It's not really that hard. People just think it's hard, but once you get used to it, it's actually very, very easy.
Yes. All right.
And
yep.
Yeah, and I try, for example, I'm from a Serbian background, and we used to eat moussaka, which is also a Greek dish, and which is really full of meat and fat and everything. And so I decided a couple of weeks ago, I'm going to try to make this vegan. And it was just absolutely fantastic. I used lentils instead of meat and put lots of vegetables. I used a little bit of potatoes, a little bit of zucchini, and just...
I hope the recipe
it was just amazing. I think it was much better than the real thing.
Yeah. I love an eggplant moussaka, vegetarian,
Yeah, actually, I did put some eggplant in there as well.
Yeah, wonderful. All right, so here we have, you've inspired us with your story of personal healing and the work that you're doing. You're in service to other people. Tell us about what you do generally as a nutritionist, and how people can reach you, and what you're doing at the moment, because you've got a specific challenge on at the moment.
Yes, at the moment, it's actually starting on Monday. We have a total body cleanup challenge, which is sounds like a lot, but it's actually a challenge where I'm just trying to encourage people to change one habit 1 week at a time. Because if we want to change everything at once, sometimes we fail. And this is basically to introduce them to how well they're going to feel after those 4 weeks, and for them to explore other options and other eating habits. I do those challenges now and then. These are challenges which, this one is pay as much as you can afford, because I know people are struggling at the moment with everything that's going on, and it's just a challenge where they can go to my website, which is jkwellnessnutrition.com, and there is a link to the total body clean challenge. And I'm also on social media, JK Wellness and Nutrition, and they can find me there. And I also offer 8 weeks programs for those people who really want to go real in and try to make some really significant changes in their life. And I usually like to work with them for a minimum of 8 weeks to be able to see really the drastic changes that they need. Obviously people can continue and work longer if they want to, but we find that we need at least 8 weeks for like big changes. I do assessments with them. I have a nutritional deficiency assessment, which is an online thing that they can fill in, and by answering those questions I can see which minerals and vitamins they're lacking in the diet. They usually, what I do with clients before I start with them is I ask them to do a food diary, and 99% of the time when I look at the diary, I already know what's the problem.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
And I think too that anyone working with you is going to be confident of a very holistic response, because you're looking at the food side, but you've also got the understanding of the meditation of the mind, and you've also got the understanding of the relationships, the emotional side of things.
Yeah.
Obviously, and the spiritual as well through meditation. So that's a really holistic approach.
Absolutely. I have one client who was really stressed with everything that's going on, and one part of the program is also, have a journal, and I actually asked her to say to herself in the mirror every morning, I love you. I love you. And she started doing that, and the pounds just came off.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Wonderful.
It's really amazing and powerful what we can achieve just by accepting ourselves and loving ourselves and forgiving ourselves for the past mistakes that we all had.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Oh, I'm moved to tears with that story. That's lovely. Thank you.
Yes, it's beautiful. I always, when I have conversations with my clients, and every time when I hear, because in this 8-week course, in the price are weekly calls included with me, 45-minute calls. Usually those calls after the second week, they're 15 minutes max, because they all say, I feel great. I don't have anything to say. I just want to continue. I just want to eat like that, and I feel great, and there is nothing to say, and then, and I couldn't be happier, because this is my mission in life.
Yes, that's wonderful. And you're glowing, and it's beautiful to hear your story. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me the chance to share my story.
Oh, look, it's a pleasure. Would you please just repeat again your website so that people can, just slowly, so that people can write that down if they want to?
So it's JK Wellness Nutrition, all in one word, .com.
Great. All right. jkwellnessnutrition.com.
Mm-hmm.
Jasna Kosovac for wonderful guidance if you would like to transform your health.
Thank you so much. And guys, you need to get this book.
This is the book.
This is the book, Power of the Light. It is really powerful.
Thank you, Jasna. And let us know when your cookbook is available, because
I will do that. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for your time today.